Well, hello there. How are you doing? Hello, how you doing? Um, I hope you're good. Unless you are a woman that does not love from the heart, in which case I'm talking to you. Love is such a special and rare thing. Marrying for love is a relatively new concept. Um, it's maybe a couple hundred years old, if that. We have a modern world that has um, modernized itself relatively quickly. Um, and there's no real reason for women to leech onto men for their money. Um, when I was a kid, that was a lot more common. And you would see beautiful women with these relatively unattractive men. And you knew just by looking at them, you were like, oh. Because I would ask my mom as a kid, I'd be like, what's up with that, mom? In the movies, you see like attractive people with attractive people. But in real life, when I was a kid, you basically saw, you know, these beautiful women with absolute dogs. So it was always really weird to me. I was just like, what the hell's up with that? And my mom would usually be like, well, maybe they really like each other. And my dad would just like, make all these sounds. Because historically, women have not liked men. The men loved the women, right? So they were like, oh, I'll do anything for her. And that's just like kind of an outdated energy source. It's just super imbalanced from the beginning. Like we live in 2024, last I checked. And it is so easy for you, for me, for anyone to pick up a part-time job and make a fair wage and be able to work at least 40 hours a week and be able to pay for a car or a home or anything extra if you so choose to do that. Now, like, it's easy to say save money, but once you're working, you're like, oh, I didn't pack lunch today. It's no big deal. I'll just buy lunch. But then that adds up, over time once you're looking at your budget and you're like, what am I spending? You start asking yourself, okay, how can I save money? And at least for me, because I have worked for my money my whole adult life, it's really odd for me to see women like openly talking about how they don't, like how they, I mean, they're basically just implying that like they can't hold a job and they don't have any skills and they need to take advantage of a man. And that's just like really sad to me. Like that is totally fucking up your energy for like the foreseeable future. Because if you don't believe in your own ability to be able to provide for yourself, then you won't. Your brain's a powerful thing. If you think that you can do it, then you can. And if you think you can't, then you won't. So yeah, I don't know. Like I totally see, like, I mean, I don't totally see that. Like, I just was never raised, like, my parents were very, like, upfront, if you want, like, to never leave the house, then be a housewife. And that sounded terrifying to me. I was like, oh, yuck, I like going to work. When I was a kid, I didn't really understand, like, what that feeling was of wanting to go out and be productive, but I liked going out to the store. I liked going to yard sales. I liked going anywhere there were things and people were talking about things. And you can say I'm materialistic for that, fine. But I really liked learning the prices of things and the value of things and figuring out how much time it would take for me to work to be able to buy something like that for myself. Because that feels good. It doesn't feel good to steal something. It makes you feel yucky. And I don't like feeling yucky. I like feeling good. But if you get used to feeling yucky, you'll just keep doing yucky and yucky and yuckier things. So, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of concerned because I think that it is so easy to take care of yourself and to love yourself and to realize, like, okay, like, what do I really need for me to feel loved and happy during the day? And then for you as an individual, you figure out what that is and you give it to yourself. And when you give it to yourself, you know what it feels like, to receive. And you're not going to go out trying to like extort it from other people. Like, love is just such a precious thing. I can't imagine looking at love in a transactional way. Because marriage, even if you're looking at it just for financial reasons, which I think is pretty fair to say that that's like what most people are doing. They are getting married because it will benefit them financially. Most married couples typically have like 12% higher year after year, net gross than people that aren't married. But that's because you are a team. It's not that it's just like one person is the beloved and the other person is loving them. Like, that's not sustainable. If you do what some of these women are suggesting, where you just like go out, you make these crazy demands, and then like you leave to go find another man that will, like, I just compare it to like when I moved to LA, and I got a lot of like emails and very odd emails in response to me applying to like job applications, and them asking for like, oh, can we have a picture? Oh, can we see a full body shot? You're like, this is getting weird really quick. And I think some women like don't see that as a huge red flag, and they just like they're like, oh yeah, sure, this guy wants to pay my bills, he's gonna offer to let me live in an apartment of his. What could be wrong? Literally everything, because it starts off nice and cute. I've never done something like that, but I can only imagine like a girl being with a guy that's like much older than her and is like offering you all of these things in exchange for like you just walking around naked sometimes, or you just like sending them pictures of your feet, or whatever odd things I see. Like, that's how it's really innocent how most girls get into it. They don't start off like trying to be like, give me your money. But that's what it becomes when they're like, oh my God, like I'm doing all of these crazy things. Like, what should I be doing instead? I've had some friends that have done, like sex work type of stuff like that. And at least that's from my perspective, that's how it seemed like they were feeling it. They were really sweet and innocent. And at first it was like, oh, I buy makeup and I buy clothes and I buy this with the money that I get from these guys. And I'm not a sex worker. It's, I just do it because I want to. And it like quickly goes from like that type of energy to like, just something really nasty and ugly, like never wanting to do anything for yourself, seeing any kind of work around the house is like too much work. And that's just crazy. Like, life is work, and if anybody told you otherwise, like, they were wrong. Even when everything's good in life, you still have work. You still have to clean the bathroom, you still have to put your bed away and do your laundry, and I don't know if I said vacuum, but you do have to do that, clean your baseboards and dust and all this crap. And you can't just do it once a month. You got to do it pretty much every day so your house stays nice. And like, it just reminds me of one of my friends, and like, she was such a really nice, cool girl, but she was a total slob. And like, she had that same attitude of like, ooh, like she would get stuff for free and then like try to sell it to you, or like have you donate money to her. And it just has that same feeling where it's like you're profiting off of like the kindness of someone else. And that's like so bad energetically. I think it's so important to be really careful about like the energetic imprint that you offer other people, and what you are receiving, from other people will change based off of what you are offering. Like, I feel like I've been kind of like going through a lot over the last couple years, and at times I've made some jokes and said some unusual things, but I don't try to like pass my bad mood off onto others or give people advice or ideas that might hurt them. And dating someone that you don't like will never yield a positive outcome. Like it just simply won't. Like I think daily of some of my friends that started doing stuff just like that. You know, oh, it's just money, or oh, he buys me handbags or makeup or whatever. He bought me a car. It's just like, um, it, there's so many strings attached to all of that. Um, so I just think it's really, really important. I'm thinking so much of all the advice that my mom gave me when I was a young lady. And she did not want me to get married when I was young. She said, please don't get married in your 20s. You have too much growing to do. If you do get married, you'll probably get divorced, because that's how it happens for most people. So she said, and don't have any children until you are married, and or until you're in or around the age of 30. So I was like, okay, she's having a great time over there. And I really see my mom for that advice now, because I'm in my mid-30s. I had my fun in my 20s. There was no period of me being like, oh, this sucks, I gotta stay home, fuck. Like, I stayed home because I wanted to stay home. I went out because I wanted to go out. I worked because I wanted stuff. I went on trips because I planned trips, and I took lots of road trips, split gas, went with a bunch of friends, did that many times. Everyone was always splitting. It was never any one person just paying for anything. I've always tried to make things like really fair. And I've never, not intentionally, but I've never intentionally tried to take advantage of someone. So seeing other people that are like coaching women to do that, when like social dynamics between men and women are so tense, is just like, I just think that's so messed up. Like, women are in danger from men most of the time anyway, right? Like, they're pretty much the most dangerous group of people that you can be around. And you're not going to be attacked by a shark. You're like very rarely swimming, you know what I'm saying? So like so you're taking like an already kind of tense dynamic where 100 years ago that was what it was. Women would like use their sexual prowess to get with guys, and then marry those guys, divorce them, leave them, break their hearts, like, because they were never really emotionally attached to those guys, because they were just in it for the money. And like 100 years ago, sure, fine, women couldn't work. Women were basically like one step up from like cattle. We're in a totally different time period. Women can own property. You can have your own credit card. You can do all of your own things. You just have to put that energy in yourself. Like, it's no longer acceptable in our society, at least to me, to see women just being like, I need to stay home and you need to take care of everything. Like, ew, why? Like, I don't want to be stuck at home. It sucks. I don't want to be here all the time. I like being home sometimes, but every day I'm like, oh man, it'd be so cool to go to a job and get paid for the labor I'm doing. And like, YouTube is cool because it allows you to get paid. People can send you donations, you can get sponsorships, you can do all of these different things. But like, most of the time when I do see like streamers getting paid, it's like, I just feel, I don't know, it just like, the whole thing just makes me feel weird when like women are sending like gifts of money to other women. Like, you should just hold on to that money. Like, I don't know what it is about rich people just being like, oh yes, I need it. Like, no, you don't. Like, what business are any of these like gold digging women supporting other than their own personal habits? So I don't know, it just seems really selfish and really weird to me. I have been watching some videos about hair care, and thinking about hair care, and there are just some really big differences in the Black community and the rest of the white community. So it's nice to see that some changes are like, on the horizon. I see more women like embracing their natural beauty and being willing to like, okay, if I want something, I'm gonna go get it. I don't need some guy to do it for me. Like, what year are we in where we're thinking like that's the only option? Like, I can just sit here and wait for you to do it for me, or I'll never get it. Like, what? The gas station is hiring always? I mean, like, there's just so many jobs, and like checks add up really quickly. You know, like, you can work so many hours in a week instead of just sitting around at your house filming yourself. Unless you have a kid that you, like, have to be there to watch. I, like, fully don't understand, like, what most internet, YouTube, streamer, Twitch type of people are doing. It just makes me feel really uncomfortable. Because, like, in your 20s, that's your prime time. That's your prime working years. As much as you might not want to admit it. So, even if you're tired, in your 20s, you're going to be hella more tired in your 30s, and you're still going to have to work. So fucking come up with some great ideas, get some passive income going, try to have as many different streams of revenue as you can in your life in your 20s, and you know, put money away, do whatever it is that you got to do to be able to retire at some point. But you can't, like, first retire and then, like, never work. Like, I don't know, it's setting women up for, like, being energy vampires, and, like, that's not a good way to live your life. Like, it's like shortening the life of your battery, you know? Like, you have the ability to fully recharge your battery on your own by yourself, by, like, pouring into yourself and being willing to, like, to work hard for things and communicate and be mature and responsible. Like, those are all, like, feminine traits. It is not a feminine trait to just, like, sit there with your hand out and expect somebody to do something for you. It just weirds me out. Like, I don't know. I'm learning that some people, their turnaround when they're asked to do something takes a lot longer than me. Just simply because they are one of those people that never had to actually do it. They're used to being like, I need this, and then someone doing all the legwork for it to happen. So those people are so delusional. They really think like, oh, wow, I just snap my fingers and things happen. Yeah, because someone didn't want to hear you, like, crying and whining. Probably another woman who was like, oh, God, this fucking shit again. So, yeah, I don't know if I, like, made the point that I'm thinking in my head, but it just reminds me so much of some of the friends that I had when I worked at Starbucks. You know, they talked like they knew what they were talking about, but when you asked them the details on anything, they didn't really know. And, it was this interesting thing that I noticed maybe 10 years ago when, like, people would just, like, walk up to me and start talking to me about stuff. And then later, you know, at least this is how groups used to hang out. You'd be hanging out with someone, and then someone else would come over to the house. Then they would try to have that same conversation that they had with me with the new person, and the new person would be like, oh, yeah, I listened to that podcast. And I didn't know what a podcast was at the time. And I was like, what? What? So basically, all of my friends were just telling me things that other people had talked about on a podcast and calling that a conversation, which is like no mental energy is involved in you hearing somebody else talk about something they learned and you regurgitating it. Like, absolutely none. But I noticed that 10 years ago. And then once I noticed that my one friend was doing it, I started picking up on the behavior from other people. I was like, oh my God, I have people that walk up to me all the time. And I thought they were sharing, like, some profound original thought that they had. No, they had watched a podcast, and they didn't mention the podcast. Never, ever, ever. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but if 100 times you're talking to someone, maybe one person would be like, oh yeah, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast and blah, blah, blah. Almost every time someone's going to be like, yeah, there was this study done, and da-da-da. They're going to present it as if they did the research, they compiled the information, and they know it, and they're going to just, like, lecture you about it, when in reality, they just listened to they're an auditory learner, apparently, and they just listened to a podcast, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Blah, 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 blah. Let me bore you with this information. So I think a lot of the internet is like that, at least right now, because everybody wants to have something to talk about. And I don't know, I've never really wanted to, like, have to share my credentials with anybody, so I don't. If you think I'm legit, then you will, and if you don't think I'm legit, then you won't, and I'm not going to try to, like, influence anybody's opinion on that. I really don't care how people perceive me. If you think I have a double chin and I'm whatever, like, that's your opinion. You're allowed to think that. But I definitely won't, like, force people to just think I'm attractive by only filming, like, oh, hello. I don't even know how to make myself look, like, more attractive right now, so I'm not even going to try. But I think most people tend to try to put their best face forward, which is great. But I do think it is really deceptive, especially when it comes to women. And, you know, makeup can really do a lot of things. So if you never see a woman without makeup, what does she really look like? Maybe she's using all kinds of odd things. I don't know. The point is that anybody that I've ever known who had anything worthwhile, they worked really hard for it. They weren't just handed anything. And anybody that was just given anything, they like, they freaked out and like couldn't hold on to it, you know? So I hope that most girls sit and think and try to take a little bit of time to reflect on, like, okay, if I'm looking back on my life, am I really going to feel like good about myself and live a long, fruitful life if I'm like taking love and turning it on its side and saying, yeah, love doesn't really matter. Money is what is important. Like, what the hell happened to you, man? Like, no, you're always going to have money. Money comes, money goes. If you want more money, spend less and work more. You don't need to, like, pretend to love somebody in order to benefit from them financially. Like, that is just very weird. And if you are going to pretend to love somebody, why not just, like, go into customer service? Because you can make tips and then, like, not have to get so close to somebody. And, like, I don't know. I can't imagine, like, there's some of the advice that I hear coming from other women. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter how he looks, matter how big his wallet is. And it's just like, ew, you're gonna be with some really weird dudes if that's your, like, if that's really what you think. I don't know. I just keep thinking of, you know, women. That used to be the only option for women. That's not your only option now, unless you're, like, really dumb. And even then, that's not your only option. I mean, there are I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping. But there's no way that you could convince me to be with someone that I didn't love or have strong feelings for just because of money. Working is fun. Like, you meet people, you make friends. There's so many great aspects of working that you don't necessarily get from relationships. You have rights, you know, like 15-minute breaks, and usually you get, like, free food or a discount of some kind. Like, you know, I'm not sure what's wrong with that. It's crazy to see a grown woman who has benefited completely from the American society and system that we have, and is going on and telling women, no, don't work, don't make any money for yourself, just let a man do the work for you. Like, are you just trying to, like, remove yourself from the competition pool? Like, what? Ew.